and our family and farm here at Maryland Westview. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Maryland Holstein annual state picnic. And sure, I'm glad you could come. A little louder in the back, huh? It's a busy season. Jimmy, is it good? A little more. Hey,
You'll be fine. Just get out in front of it. There you go. Yeah.
So it's a hot season, busy season, a lot of fairs, a lot going on here. We needed the rain, and we probably got an inch and a half, I'd say, about an hour before everybody arrived, and two corners of the tent was kind of hanging. So thanks to everybody who helped out there. It was a lot of work. I wanted to just say a couple thank yous. Number one, I want to thank Laura and Noah and Brooke. They're around here with ice cream. So if you hadn't gotten ice cream, raise your hand. There's all kinds of ice cream, little novelties. So make sure you see what's in the cart. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors. If you're a sponsor, either through your time helping out here, setting up, cleaning up later, if you gave a sponsorship to help subsidize some of the cost, could you please stand? Whether it's you or your business, please stand to be recognized. Remain standing. Dave, I see it. There's all kinds of people in here. Dave, Pete. Nice round of applause for all of these folks. Hard-working folks that give a lot. They're dedicated to the industry. It's nice to say thank you to them throughout. Let's see. Door prizes. Did everyone get a door prize ticket when they came in? We're going to be doing some of those later. Or milk. If you didn't see milk, you can get some milk later, DFA. Or cheese, Palmyra Farm cheese. Ice cream, Maryland, Virginia. Our meal was catered by Hempen Hill Barbecue in Hagerstown. We have some special guests this evening. I'd like to recognize some of those folks. And Dieter Craig from Farm Shine, could you stand? Where's Dieter? Hi Dieter, thanks so much. Thanks for everything he does for Maryland Holstein. Randy Blodgett, Blodgett Communications. Thank Randy for being here. We'll say hello to the Engel brothers from Lucky, Matt and Joe a little later. We have some special guests this evening too. We have Reese Burdett and Patricia Stiles. That was really nice. Reese. We sure am glad you guys could come, sharing your evening with us, and we're so happy that you were here today. At this time, I'd like to call on Catherine Savage, who's our alternate Maryland Dairy Princess, and she's going to have a milk toast.
To the Holstein breed, the cow that produces more milk than any other breed and makes up 90% of the U.S. dairy population. And to the producers who get up every day, no matter the conditions, to take care of that Holstein cow. So raise your glass to the cow we've all grown to love, the Holstein. Cheers.
Thanks, Catherine. Congratulations to her. Well, for anybody that knows me, you know I like to have fun and have some contests, and I like you to learn something while you're here. And so you have a few contests and games in there. I had 4 things. I had that pedigree, the Junior Supreme pedigree, type, then pedigree, and then our genomic evaluation, and then the embryo identification. So there's 4 things, 50 points apiece, 200 for the total. Our officials are right here. So if you don't like them, guess what? They got the horseshoe on the chest. So help yourself. You can put your, if you hadn't turned it in, you want to be eligible, we have that grand prize in there. Again, door prizes, we'll do some of those later. Feel free to look around, check out the cows, the office. I got my hobby shop in here. There's a woman's side and a man's side in there. That's when I never find time to be in there, but if I do, you'll see me there too. Check things out, look around. The doors are unlocked. Plenty of food, plenty of beverage, and we'll have ice cream. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Matt and Joe Engel from Illinois. They're with Lucky Holsteins. They're doing a great job in our industry. Great job with type, genomics, the whole works. They're going to talk about themselves, the program, and type in this genomic era. Thanks, guys.
Hi everybody, my name's Matt, it's my brother Joe. First off, I wanted to thank Dr. Matt Iager for inviting us out here. It was a nice excuse to come out. We always like coming out and visiting. It's like every farmer, it's hard to get away. It was nice to have the excuse to go ahead and do it. I've always admired how far all you guys traveled to come see the Midwest every October. You know, for us it's easy, and 95 miles, we're at the Coliseum door, and if you guys can travel every year, I should start making an excuse to come visit you guys every year. It's only fair. I've always admired the high type cattle that you guys have out here, and basically what we're going to talk about tonight is our opinion on how we do things, and judging by the faces I recognize in the crowd, there will be lots of similarities, and if there's differences, it's just opinions, but we're going to tell you a little bit about what we do. So I guess with that, we'll start. Just a little bit more about our operation so you get a feel for what we're trying to do. We're trying to breed for the complete cow. Our expression's always been real cows competing in real conditions. In other words, we milk 200 cows in sand free stalls. We only have 156 free stalls, so the cows are crowded. That's why it takes a cow with a lot of chest, good feet and legs, lots of width. It takes a strong cow to survive with exceptional feet and legs. Our cows also do have access to pasture, so some can go out there April through late November. Our cows are milked in 38 tie stalls, 19 milkers. Generally, there's either one of us or 2 interns milking. There again, it's important to get cows that are functionally correct, so we don't have automatic takeoffs, so milkers got to hang properly. Cows have to get in and out. At our place, for those of you who've been there, the back freestall barn, it's a pretty long walk, and on a hot day like today or the cold dead of winter, it's important that cows are mobile to get where they need to go and back. As an industry, that's something we need to focus more, especially as we compare our show cows with what really works at home. These cows have to be mobile, they have to have strong pasterns and exceptional feet. That's one thing I think we can improve on as a breed. Actually, in the past, we've always felt like we've followed it, but in the last year and a half we've gotten way more serious about it, because I think as a breed we can improve upon that. At our farm, we only farm 350 acres. There's 3 incomes. This past year, Joe and I rented the land and everything from our parents. In the past, we bought feed from them. Since we graduated from college, our numbers of cattle have kept going up while our parents have gone down. At this point, my parents, they rent one piece of ground, or they have one piece of ground that they kept, but the rest of it we rent, so the day-to-day decisions are mine and Joe's. When you only have that little land for 3 incomes, for us, selling cattle is extremely important. It's a point and price system, but that being said, you got to have fertility rates, and cows that get pregnant do it easily, so you can hopefully have plenty to sell. In 1990, I went to AI school. It was something I picked up really easy. In the past, my dad had always done all the AI, and we got a cheater head start. My dad always had good cows growing up, and actually our 2 most popular families that we have today, the A family, which is the Iager family that produced Awesome Red, and the K family that produced Candy, they just happen to be 4-H go back to 4-H projects that Joe and I had as kids. So ever since basically 1990, I've done all the AI at the farm, and as Joe came along, we've always talked about bulls. It's always a contest, who can find the best bull. We always talk about it. Joe and I are, if you talk to one, you basically talk to both of us as far as picking bulls. We always have a contest on what you can look up, what you can find. We pick the type of bulls we're going to buy together. Since I do all the arm service at the farm, the guy with the gun makes the rules, so I grab the straw at the end. We'll talk about flushes, but we always pick which bulls we're going to use together. But I think as you're breeding cows, sometimes we get too paranoid about picking the exact bull for the exact cow. And if you more picked a bull on the traits he's supposed to correct, it gets easier actually. As you do that, your herd will get more uniform, and you'll be able to pick every subsequent generation quicker. And also, when we go to breed cows, we never usually think in one generation. We're usually trying to think in two. You know, an example would be on Candy Red. Most of the offspring we've made out of her has actually been black because we know we're going to breed them all to awesome. But that's just an example. It works that way for if you're trying to make a clean sweep on foot and legs or whatever you think is in your herd you really, really need to go after. At this point, after we classified in June, and we've bred over 355 excellent cows. We've had 29 94s, 4 95s. We just had a cow that we had exported as an embryo to Ireland go 96. She's out of a 95, and her 92-point Atwood was just first place in Colmar, France. All the 2-year-olds at the farm average very good. All second place in greater lactation cows, they average excellent. The dams on 320 heifers at home, that statistic's actually wrong. We just passed 93 points on our last classification for all the donors. That being said, we do a lot of IVF work at the farm, and we also milk about 60 grades to supply enough uteruses. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Joe.
All right, well, thanks for having me. This is the first time that Matt and I have both been away from the farm other than the Holstein show for World Dairy Expo in 20 years. In 1996, my brother Kevin got married, and that was the last time, so it's kind of exciting that we both made it away at one time. As Matt said, our passion is type. We like high type cows, and that's something that it's what we love doing. That's why we milk cows. We like cows with extreme udders. We like cows high, wide rear udders, long fore udders. That's the biggest trait we emphasize. Cows need to be wide, as Matt said, with the muzzle all the way to the udder. If they're not wide in the front, they're not going to last no matter how wide they are. You know, their udder is the 2-year-old. They got to have a muzzle. We like high scoring cows, but we want to compete in the show ring also. And it's important for us to breed cows that thrive in any facility. We'll calve 120 heifers in a year, and we only need 30 for replacements. So we got a lot of young cows to sell. So it's important that you know, we can sell to tie stalls, we can sell to free stalls of any kind, and have those cows perform well so we have repeat customers. High components is very important for us. We run pretty high components. In the winter time, we'll run 25% higher on our milk check than the average farm at our dairy on our pay price. With watching the fat and protein on the maternal side of our pedigrees, over time we've been able to get really high components without sacrificing type. And as we get to talking about genomics here in a minute, we'll kind of talk about value-added traits and how we can breed the cow that looks the way we want her to look and still be relevant in today's market and be worth money. So these are, just got just a couple quick slides with just a few cow pictures. Most of our 2-year-olds now calve at 21 or 22 months old. Our average calving age is 22 months. We got some heifers that are calving at just barely 21 months old. So there again, if you want them to calve at 21 months old, you know, if they're calving at 1.9 and some of them are coming back at 2.9, we got cows coming back this year calving right now, the third time, that are not 4, right? Yeah, not 4, 3.8. We got cows calving the third time. We need to sell a lot of cows, and if you want to make cows, they got to get pregnant fast and calve often.
One other thing, like Joe mentioned, that we started calving everything younger. We made our calving age 4 months younger when corn hit $7. And even though that corn's cheaper now, what we learned in that phase made us better dairy farmers, because by the end of the second lactation, all those cows are the same size. And if you've got a special cow, you can give that special cow a little extra time to grow later. And on the other ones, it didn't really matter. Like those cows can carry an egg just as fast or do whatever they need to do just as fast. You can dedicate more time to the special ones if they need it. And to be honest with you, the truly good ones don't need it. We had no more calving difficulty. You think about it in nature, you've never seen a buck in the woods, think I'm gonna go about that later. That those heifers calve more athletic, and actually calving needs has not been an issue going younger.
Actually, once we started calving younger, our production is higher on our younger heifers, and we have less calving issues. This is just a row of cows when we score. Just kind of keep clicking through these. It's a couple 94-point cows we just scored this last time. This next cow here might be hard for some people to see. Don't go for it. This is a 8-year-old cow that was second in the 150,000 pound class. Her udder's about 5 inches above the hock and about 4 inches from her vulva. She's got 150,000 out. She's probably 60.5 inches tall. To us, that's an ideal cow that's produced that much milk, and hopefully she's only half used up. Some more 2-year-olds. These are a couple sisters to Awesome Red. So this is an example of heifers that calved the second time before they were 3 years old, and when they plenty of capacity for us.
The 2 heifers in the picture we just classified in June, 6 sisters to Awesome. We had 5 go excellent. This is the poorest one that only went 88. It would appear that Awesome's family's not through. They're maybe not going to be the biggest cows, but they're complete, and everyone's got a smack on udder.
So that kind of gives you an idea of what our cows are like and what our breeding goals are, and hopefully that provides a little perspective for what we're talking about with genomics. Our breeding philosophy has not changed since genomics came out. Every time we go to breed a cow, the first thing we think of is what is the worst possible result of this mating. We never just assume, well, it's going to get this best thing from the cow, and it's going to get the cow's udder and the bull's legs, and life's going to be great. We always think, what is the worst possible thing? We feel if you don't make the bad ones, the good ones and the great ones will come. It costs too much money, it takes too much time and too much room to raise an animal that you're going to be disappointed with, or doesn't last in the herd, or doesn't have a high value for sale. And we'll talk about a little more, but like begets like. You know, you get what you put in. If you want high type animal, you have to use high type genetics, no matter what the numbers say. The real life cows and bulls behind those bulls have to match. And so when genomics came out several years ago here, it was kind of a whirlwind, and whether you want to like genomics or not, it's here, and the bull studs are moving at a very fast pace. That guy drives into the driveway to sell you semen, and you know there's a new bull. No matter how often he comes, there is new bulls. And so it took a little bit for us anyways to kind of figure out how to handle things. How many genomic young bulls do you use? How accurate is this information? You know, and there were some lessons learned hard. A couple of things that we learned. If your goal is high type cows, you want really extreme type, if you're using genomic young bulls, you have to use the highest of the high, period. Because those bulls' numbers are going to come down, so you got to use the highest one. You know, you can't grab a 2-point type bull and think, well, that's probably all right. If he doesn't have daughters on his proof, he's probably not gonna give you what you want. And the big thing is, you know, where do you find these sires? How we go about the process of picking out bulls for our farm is everything moves so fast paced, so you can't wait for a print catalog to come out or someone to come in the driveway, and they're usually going to try selling you the old bull anyways that they need off the truck. So we'll go, and there's multiple websites where you can look up all the bulls from any stud in one place. So we'll put in our criteria for type, udders, and feet and legs. It's a pretty high criteria, so the number of bulls that comes up isn't going to be real high. And then we just start kicking bulls out. the family, the sire stack has to match. If we didn't like the dam of the bull, or if we didn't like something in the sire stack, no matter how high his numbers are, the bull is automatically out. Another thing that to get a bull out right away right now for us is, you know, when udders first started getting really good 15 years ago, pins were getting a little high, outside talent, bulls like this came along, we got beautiful udders and we brought the pins down to nice level rumps. A lot of these younger bulls now are starting to get up in pins a little bit. As much as we like really good udders, if you get these bulls that are really high in the pins, it's an automatic out. So that's how we...
One more thing I was going to add, you know, for picking bulls, you know, Joe said liked begets like, which is true, but genomics on the measurable things, like milk or how fast she calves back, those are all measurable. There's not opinion involved. There's two types of true type. There's the type of cow that gets you to colored shavings, and there's the type of cow that'll last 10 years in a freestall barn. Both cows are really important. But the best way to go about seeing which way you're going to get is, hopefully you can get out and see some cows, but if you can't, talk to people those have. The reason we had so much good of the early Barbie and Apple stuff is I was lucky enough, I worked with Reagan Crest Barbie at a show as a 3-year-old, and Apple was at Mike Deaver's 73 miles away. Every time we take interns around, you'd see them. And we fell in love with those families, and then going to shows. You know, every time that you'd see, pick out the cows that you want them to look like at home and then go sort through their sons accordingly. I can still remember coming home from Madison and telling Joe how great Barbie was as an individual and to work with. And even before I ever seen Barbie, one day I was at Sunshine Genetics and all that cows were eating at the headlocks, and flush cows, you feed them to clean up, the row of hay went like this and then it went like this. Well, Brina's head was this much longer than anybody else's, and her neck's that much longer. Those were the kind of cows we want. So then you start, you know, looking for how do I get more out of that family.
We no longer have to buy a $20 or $25 red carrier test. We used a lot of apple and blood in the herd because it had such consistent high type. It was really predictable, but that also put a lot of some CVM in there. And genomics will give us a CVM test, so we make sure that we don't double that up. And then right now we're starting to get some polled into the herd now, and polled's one of the things. Red carrier and polled, those are a couple of things when I was talking about value-added traits where we can have the cow look like we want and add value to that cow. It's pretty obvious with reds, as we've seen the red industry really prosper this last decade, and what the value of those animals are. I think there's some future in polled. You know, it kind of started to pick up and it seemed like it backed off a little in the marketplace, but I think it's because we haven't seen the really high type ones yet. You know, I think when you start seeing polled ones that can be right up there in class at Madison, people will want that, but I don't think you should give up anything for it. That cholesterol deficiency that they found recently here, you know, that's in some of the popular type lines, and it's pretty important to find that. And then again, that's in there. So if you start buying all these tests individually on possible animals, all of a sudden you just could have had all the information. And that's why we went to do it. And then fertility is another one. In our opinion, that's some of the fertility information is maybe some of the more consistently useful information in these genomic evaluations. If you got two sisters that are really nice, you know, whether they're super high type genomic heifers or they're 88.2-year-olds, if one's a lot better on her fertility numbers, you know, for us it's a logical decision, that's the one we flush. And also for finding the haplotypes for fertility, finding genetic markers that indicate negative fertility issues. So by type is our main focus. I think we need to keep building on that high type cow. We can't just be comfortable that, well, I just always want just a 94-point cow. Well, maybe we can make that 94-point cow red. Maybe she doesn't have to have horns. maybe her daughters are going to get pregnant one service quicker. Things like that, they start making a big difference on your bottom line, and it doesn't add work to your day. You know, most farms got labor issues, milk price isn't real good. Anything that you can do to drive more income without putting in more labor and a very minimal amount of money, I think is something important. And another one that is really gaining steam now is A2A2. And I assume as time goes on here, there's just going to be more things like that. Genomics has really come in for us as we were already picking. We're not really picking bulls any different. We were already picking these young bulls to begin with. Now we just have a little information. We're flushing very similar cows. It's just the one that maybe is going to have a little more milk, a little more fertility. And so we can add value to that cow without sacrificing anything on type. And another thing is it makes it possible for farmers to breed bull mothers, to breed bulls. I think there's a lot of potential for people that are in the tent here today that have great cow families that have stood the test of time, and you're using bulls, high genomic bulls that are from good families. I think there's a lot of potential to market those bulls in ways that we maybe haven't before. And I think to get the type that we want, breeders are going to have to breed the bulls that they want for type. I don't know that the bull studs are necessarily going to be handed them to us.
And by the same token as the bull studs have done the correct thing in their business plan for making the types of bulls they can sell lots of semen out of for big dairies or dairies that are focused on certain goals. But if our goals are similar, and a lot of here in the tent I can recognize are, possibly in the future as they go down the female highway, maybe more and more breeders are going to go down the male highway as far as making bulls and interacting with each other. You know, a prime example would be like they did with Maguchi. They collected a bunch, they sold a bunch, and then unfortunately they did away with them too easy. But there's an example. They made $50,000 on a young sire, got him out there and made the money, and it was gone. That's a thing that as breeders, a lot of us can, in bad milk price, that might be just the thing that helps us out. And then if we're selling each other semen for $15 versus $50, that could be a benefit. I'll be the first one to admit, as far as testing for genomics, I was old school and thought, why bother? We had this red bull calf that I decided to keep because I believe in line breeding. That a lot of the best, an old guy told me once, you're better off with a good family in there twice than not at all. So I had an absolute son out of 94 Point Asia, and I told Joe, I'm keeping that bull, that's going to be our bull, we're going to use him on half the herd. Joe tested him behind my back.
I was told not to waste the money.
I told Joe, don't waste the $40, I'm going to use him no matter what that stuff says. And he came back unbelievably high, so Joe's going to get credit for that. We're going to wind up with just as many daughters, but hopefully he'll do some good for a lot of people, and judging by the calves, it would appear that he is.
No, I think the option that people have, or what we're doing now is, so you're going to be using, a lot of people are going to be using young bulls, and if you have great cow families and you can test those bulls, well, maybe you should test some of those bulls, because if you can come up with a 3-point type bull to use on your problem cows instead of some random cheap semen, why not? And actually, a lot of people in this room can have bulls probably test out about as high as most of the high type bull in AI. You just have to find them, and the only way that you're going to find those is through testing. So I think it really doesn't replace anything that we already knew about breeding cows. It adds to it, and then with all the extra information we get, we think it's a worthwhile thing. And another nice thing that is done is now these higher type bulls that are really good for production and health traits, but maybe aren't a real extreme type, those bulls are getting used on the best of the best cows and type cows in the breed, your Expo champions and your best maternal lines. And then we hopefully we find that the one sibling that got it both. We find the one that really has the type, and we can start improving our fertility. One thing I do think we really have to work on is type breeders is don't sacrifice your type at all, but you do need to start working in some of this health stuff a little bit at a time.
I guess we're getting near the end. The last thing I was going to add is by being really fussy about the type of bulls we pick and pedigrees, sometimes we like totally miss a good bull, which actually can be a blessing. We never used Doorman because I didn't like the Ramos in his pedigree, and then now there's all these good Doormans. The news is, with that many, occasionally when we miss a bull like that, you can come in with all of his sons, and you can still be right in. Another thing that we do to try to add value at the farm is we try to pick bulls that we're using. If we hear a bull such as Crush, Advent, Dundee, bulls that cannot go to export because of a health thing, the more of those bulls you use, the more different blood you can get in your herd that other populations want in Europe or New Zealand or Australia or whatever. Everyone likes what they can't have. If you lined your drive with diamonds, no one would want them. Like, people just want what they can't have. So if you can use those bulls that other people can't get, that can add interest into your families too.
Anyone have any questions about anything?
What are some of the young sires, you're using?
So right now, and I should have said, we are almost all genomic young sires now. I think the only proven bulls we've used in the last year is we still use a little bit of Absolute that we had in the tank before the Awesome Semen came available. The young bulls we're using right now would be there's a bull that's going to be coming out soon that we've been flushing with already a bunch at St. Jacobs, named MOP. It's a red carrier bull. It's over 3-year type, over 3-year protein, 2-6 feet in legs, A2, red carrier polled, and he's out of an 88.2-year-old. And in fact, P, that's where the polled came from.
Her butter fat's 6.1 in her first 99 days of lactation.
So, you know, it's adding in all those extra things, bulls like that. We're using a lot of Awesome. We used a bunch. We got 40 heifers. Whether it's your own bull or not, after a herd our size, you get 40 heifers. You want to see what pregnancies. You want to see what they look like. We're extremely happy. We went back and used a lot. Our avalanche calves will just be hitting the ground soon. We use him a lot, and then we still have some semen that will continue doing a little flushing. We used a lot of Crush. Crush was our main cleanup bull. He's one of the most fertile semen bulls that we've ever used, and he's also a fairly high type bull. He's one of the lowest somatic cell bulls in the breed. He goes back to an Expo champion. So we used him a lot. Talking about Doorman Sons, we used Diamondback as another one. Kenosha from Select Sires.
Is it Atwood out of the Cosmopolitan family? There again, you've got really high components. Those Cosmopolitan cows were really strong, so even Atwood couldn't narrow them up.
Saturn, Sultan, those were a couple of Select bulls. A lot of our bulls now, unless there's some particular we are chasing, they have to be over 3 type, they have to be over 3 udders, and about half of them are pretty high on, or for type stuff, they're high on fertility. But like, they got to meet those minimum. If they're not that extreme, we're not comfortable using them as a young sire.
I guess the last thing that we have to add, and we started doing it, and I pray to God all you folks with good cows do, we've gotten spoiled with IVF when we can make 96% heifer calves, and then we all complain that none of us have bulls to use out of the cow we like. That actually, on Asia, we have 10 more sons coming. The last 2 times I've done Candy, we've done her to Ambo P to try to make bulls, but I can look at lots of you guys here. Actually, we went and see Gold Barber this afternoon. Leona, there's, Wendy Knowlesview's got a lot of cows that I'd love to use more bulls out of them, but if you're not getting them made, you can't use them. And part of that's dictated as well. You talk to the farmer, well, maybe a stud won't buy it, whatever, but in the future, if groups of us want those type of cows, we can make it happen. Look, Blonde and Sires isn't doing it because they don't think they're not going to make money on it. But yeah, in the future, it'd be nice if we all had a discipline and maybe make a few more bulls out of those super good cows. But I think that's all Joe and I have to add, unless you've got more questions.
You get some embryo contracts.
Yeah, and
You sound like you're pretty definitive on what you want to use. Do you ever butt heads in or let Sires do something?
If we don't believe in it, we just flat out won't make it because we have to milk the leftovers. And a part of the reason where we're really fussy about sire stacks, we had so much Advent talent Dundee. We were on a 5-year roll, and that's basically all I used. We seen one pretty stupid March calf at Madison, and we came home and used a bull called Lauren because it was an outcross. Well, I don't know what Scott Culbertson described the rest of them as. However, usually at the farm we have over 50% of our calves born go excellent. It's one of the higher ones in the breed as far as from birth to go excellent. And out of Lauren's, we had 1 out of 21 that went.
Yep.
So there again, Joe was so upset with me I used something with that blood in there. And he was right, so that way when we got to some of Dorman and some of those bulls, it's okay to be wrong, because if the bull's truly good, you can go back.
well, when Iager's dam was the highest index Blitz, when Blitz was hot, and one of the best milk bulls of all time, and that brought bull studs to our door, which was kind of different for us since we're just so tight based. And they said, well, what'd you flush her to? And we said, well, we use this kite son called Advent. And they didn't really mix words when they were telling us how dumb it was to use Advent on that cow. And that was $1 million mating. That we stick to what we want. Getting back to your question about embryos, we had really strong embryo sales. If we got a nice 94-point cow, a full pedigree, she takes a year off flushing, that cow would sell 40,000 in eggs, boom. And then when genomics come out, a lot of our market kind of got spooked. They didn't know what to do. They just didn't know where they should go. They were uncomfortable. And now over time, genomics has actually helped us gain a lot of that market back because we have high type individuals where the genomic numbers match the type, and those people feel comfortable. And really in the last several months, we've started to get our full market back. And that's why, it's a reason that we can't just ignore it, because we would not have that market without it. Any other questions? Thank you.